Okay, this is Unit 3, Worksheet 1, Functions and Non-Functions. So, your objective today will be, you'll be able to distinguish between a function and a non-function. Now, our first page, I've got kind of a quick guide for you. I would pause my video and copy these down because these are good things to go back and look at. If you're not sure whether something is a function or not. Basically, a function is defined where each x goes to only one y. Okay? The quick way to think about this is x's can't cheat. Now, what we'll see is in my function side over here, I've got 3, which is my x-coordinate. It goes to 1, and negative 3 goes to 1. It's okay for them to go to the same y, but you can't have an x repeat that goes to a different y. You'll have some graphs, and as long as you can draw a straight up and down line, that's called the linear line or the vertical line test. If it doesn't cross anywhere twice, it's a function. So as long as it only crosses once where you draw a vertical line, you're good to go. And then the last thing you're going to see is called a mapping down here. A mapping tells you where your x's go. If you plug it into a function, where do they go? We'll talk more about functions and non-functions, or about functions later on in this unit. So notice on the non-functions, on this 3 right here, I have, it goes to more than one y. It goes to 2 and it goes to 5, so it cheats. And then last of all, you're going to have to be able to look at equations. And I think it's easier to tell what is not a function in the equation. Anytime you see a y squared or absolute value of y or a square root of y, it's not a function. So let's look at some examples here. So I go through my test. These are just equations, and we want to see if they're functions or not. The thing that makes this one not a function is it's got a y squared, so this is not a function. From here on out, I'm just going to use NF for that, or F for a function. So anytime you have a y squared, not a function. So of course you should be able to look at this one and say, not a function. That makes it not a function. Number 3, I go through my test. I go, well, is y squared? Do I have an absolute value of y? Or do I have a square root of y? And I don't have any of those things in number 3. So this one is a function. Number 4, I look at my y and I go, is there anything there that makes it not a function? A y squared, an absolute value of y, or a square root of y? And there's not, so this one is a function. Okay, 5, I have an absolute value, but it's not on my y. I don't have a squared on the y. I don't have a square root on a y, so this one's a function. And last but not least, number 6, I look at my y and I say, oh, it's got an absolute value on there, so it is not a function. So it's not a function. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to have some coordinate pairs, and we have to tell if they're functions. So the first thing, remember, in a coordinate pair, you have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. So the first thing I need to look for is, do any of my x-coordinates repeat? So I'll look at those. At these coordinates right here. And I see 2, 3, 4, and 5, they don't repeat. It is a function. For it to not be a function, it has to repeat, and it has to go to different y's. So let me show you an example of not a function. In this case, I've got 3's here in my x spots that repeat. Notice they both go to an 8 and a 9. This is not a function. Anytime your x's cheat, x's, you can think of this like a boyfriend-girlfriend. So your x cannot cheat. He's got a boyfriend or girlfriend that's 8 and 9. He's cheating. So that makes it not a function. Okay, just going through number 9, I look, I go 3, 4, 5, 3. So here's my x's that repeat, but notice they go to the same y. We just stated it twice. This one is a function. It's not cheating. It doesn't have a different girlfriend. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this one, we want to talk about a mapping. A mapping are these little ovals, and you draw arrows from where each goes. So the first thing I want to do is look at my X's, and I'm going to put those in my mapping. And you don't repeat any numbers that repeat. So I'll just have 2, 3, 4, and 5 on my X side. And then putting in order, I'm going to look at my Y. So remember, the second coordinate is your Y. I'm putting it to it here. So we'll go 3, 5, 7, and 9. So I look at 2. So I'm looking at this one here. And I see it goes to 3. So it goes over here. 3 goes to 5. So I say 3 goes to 5. That comes from this coordinate. And this one I see 4 goes to 7. So I'll go 4 to 7. And in this one I see 5 goes to 9. So that's just what a mapping is. Now this one is a function because each x only goes to one y. So let's look and see. Now, what can I do to make this not a function before we move on? So right now it's a function. If I added another coordinate, say 2 and 5, so that what I had is 2 goes to 5, well, then I've made it not a function. So that made it not a function. So let's look at this one. Determine whether it's a function or not. I'm going to look at my x side. So I look at my x side and I look at each number and I see how many times. This one goes to 4 and 1 goes to 3. So it's cheating. So this is not a function. And I just noticed my thing over in the other side doesn't go in alphabetical order, and the number was listed twice, which you shouldn't do. So that one's got a few problems in it. Sorry about that. So I would push 4 up to 7, or 7 up to 4. Now, x's can go to the same y. I can have 1 go to 4 and I can have 7 go to 4, and it would stay a function. But what makes this one not a function is a 1. Okay, this one is a function. And you may be saying, but there's 2 arrows go to y. That's okay. Y can cheat. X cannot. So, even though 3 has 2 different boyfriends over here on X, the X's only have 1 girlfriend. So, this one is a function. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at are charts. So, you have to look at your X's. 2, 3, 4, and 5. No X repeats, so this is a function. You only have to do the test when you have an X repeat. If you have an X repeat, you need to see if it goes to the same thing. Okay, this one's 4 to 6, 5 to 7, 6 to 8, 4 to 6. So I see I have 2 X's repeating here. But notice that they go to the same Y. They both have they're just named twice is all that's happened. So this one is a function. Okay, moving on. We're going to look at graphs. And to test graphs, what we're going to do is do a vertical line test. Because if you'll remember, this is your x-axis. So if I can draw a straight up and down line and it covers anywhere on the graph twice, it's not a function. And that should make sense because, let me move my line a little bit here. Okay, I'll move the drawing. Okay. If you look at this, what I have is I have 2 coordinates here that have 3. Just a minute. Sorry about that. This one would be some 3 and a negative y coordinate. I don't know exactly what the coordinate is. It looks like it's about 1.5. So we'll just say it's 3 and negative 1/2. Negative 1.5, sorry. And this one up here is like, well, dadgummit. Let me get my graph straight here. I got it kind of mixed up. I'm going to erase my lines here. We'll just move our vertical line. Which sometimes gets difficult when you got a graph laying over the top of it. Okay, we'll do it now. Okay, so I'm going to set my vertical line. Now let's see if there's a good place to maybe measure it. Yeah, right here is maybe a good one. you can see that my coordinates here, where my two crosses are, I've got 4 and -2 here, and I've got 4 and 2 up here. Oh, I can't write today. Try this again. 4 and 2 there. So, as you can see, if I have the coordinates 4 and 2 and 4 and -2, even though those are both 2, they're different numbers because one's positive, one's negative. This one is not a function because my 4 is cheating. Not only that, but cheating on twins. Okay, so once again, vertical line test. I've got a graph here. This is actually a square root function. So as I go across, I see there's only one place that it ever crosses the graph. Try this again. My pen's not functioning very well today. So as I move across, I can see it only crosses one place anywhere on the graph. So this one is a function. The vertical line test is the one you're going to forget. So you need to pay special attention to it. All right, you're ready to work the worksheet.